Hello everyone and welcome to Policymatrix series. Today I, Samarth, I have with me Mr. Pratyush Prabhakar. Mr. Prabhakar is a policy communication specialist and he has worked extensively with the government under various departments like Ministry of Railways, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and currently he's working with Ministry of Steel and Petroleum. He has a management degree from India's premier management institute, IIM Calcutta, and he has a BTech degree from VNIT Nagpur. He brings to the table a unique combination of management, policy, and technology. So I would like to welcome him on our series.
Thank you, Samarth. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, sir. Sir, without further delay, I would like to ask you the question that since with your background, it certainly comes with a image of a typical engineering graduate of India who are aiming for a perfect corporate life recipe. That you have a management degree, you have a engineering degree. So why not corporate? And what prompted you? What encouraged you to join public policy stream?
See, so the first thing is that life is not a straight line path. I think you would know it better since you have also been in engineering and dropped out. So you must have thought before taking that step. And so I've always believed in experimenting with new things and not planning things, because rarely things you plan which works out. So I always believe in experimenting new things and learning about new things and working in different areas. So public policy has been one of my kind of natural interests since long. I mean, that's also natural interest of many Indians. I mean, at some or the other. So, but taking it as a full-time profession is a different call which one needs to take. So after doing my engineering, I joined Bharat Petroleum, which is a oil marketing company. And in fact, with my interest in public policy and these kind of areas, that was also one of the reasons why I which drove me towards a public sector undertaking than say IT sector or other sectors in which were also available which were also obvious job choices after engineering. That too, I did my engineering in electronics engineering. So, but I wanted to do something connects more with people on ground. So I thought that this would be a good area, and which proved to be a good organization to join, because I then got experience of working in the kind of semi-rural and small towns of India, where I gained a lot of ground level experience. It was basically, BBCL is basically an oil marketing company. It's basically a business organization, but that kind of gave me more exposure towards how things work at ground level. And since being a public sector undertaking, it also had similar kind of strong overlap with district administration and other areas. And I saw the role of how business, society, administration all kind of interact with each other to create value, and how this kind of interaction is so much more interesting to work on. So that kind of also strengthened my interest towards this area. So when I joined IIM Calcutta to do my MBA, then also I was kind of more interested towards not following again a straight line path of going to the campus offers and all, which was, which is the usual path everyone takes. There's nothing wrong in that, but which is the usual path which is taken by everyone. So I was interested in communication. I was interested in public policy. So in fact, during the course of my MBA, I also participated in and won several competitions, national and international level competitions. All of them were related to public policy issues or public policy themes. So I kind of used my time at IIM Calcutta to build my profile, which is more aligned with where I want to be than just to go for a very transactional kind of thing with my institute in terms of just paying some amount of fee and getting an MBA degree and getting a certain jump in my salary, in my CTC. That was not the only thing in my mind. I mean, and anyone would welcome a jump in CTC, but that was not the prime thing which was in my mind. So once the placement process start, I also participated in it. I got a couple of jobs also, but then I was not keen on joining them, despite them being fairly more rewarding. But I was more interested in this area, and that my takeaway from the MBA was that I should be in the place in the sector I want to be, rather than just getting a salary jump in the same area or similar area. So, and that kind of happened, because then I also went beyond the placement process and took personal effort to reach out to people. I also used social media. I used emails, LinkedIn profiles to reach out to people. It's very important to have a LinkedIn premium profile, because then you can message more people. So that is one tool. And in fact, I, apart from landing up a couple of jobs in the placement process, I then landed up at and a job through off campus in KPMG government advisory services, which was also kind of which was aligned to the public policy area which I wanted to be in. And then I subsequently came in touch with the railway minister's office, and then I started working there, and then things worked out, and I till today I am been continuing in the same area. So out of my experience, I have not done anything great. I'm still understanding. I'm still trying to basically trying to know what I want still, I would say, because that's perhaps the most difficult thing to know. Out of everyone, we know everything about the world, but we don't know about ourselves. So, but the only prescription, the only recommendation I will have for aspiring students is not to follow a very linear path. And when you go beyond the obvious, things will happen. You take efforts and you want to land up in things and areas where you want to be, where you are genuinely passionate about, then things will happen and things will work out eventually. So don't think about your education in terms of only financial gains. Your education is a tool to fulfill your passion. So that is something one always needs to keep in mind. And things like placement, or when it happens, or even marks, degrees, when it happens, it looks like that's the end of the world, or that's the everything in the world. But that's neither the beginning nor the end. There are so many things beyond the regular placements and all, where if you explore your passion, if you reach out to people, things will happen and you will reach at the right place.
So you would say that your journey has been one of a lot of self-discovery as well.
Yes, obviously. I mean, absolutely. I think everyone's journey is about a lot of self-discovery, and that should be the focus. And I'm still kind of taking baby steps and still discovering myself. I think doing, but and one should understand he or she is right now and where he or she wants to be, and how now what steps need to be taken to go on to the next level, or to the next to the next assignment. So always I think a very cliched statement of Steve Jobs is that stay hungry, stay foolish. So it's I also say that stay hungry, stay foolish, and also stay to some extent dissatisfied, because unless if you are completely dissatisfaction, I am not talking about dissatisfaction in a negative connotation, but if you are completely satisfied with anything you have, it might kind of land you in stagnation. So stagnation is something one should avoid, and one should always look forward to the next level, or to the next thing one wants to do. Whatever makes you happy, that's the most important thing.
That's very interesting take that you have of satisfaction and life lessons. So Moving on to, since you mentioned that you have a lot of exposure to campus placements, and with your background, a lot of people aspire for campus placement and corporate placement. And I'm sure, very sure that many of your peers from college and I am also might be working in corporate. So how do you think the life it is different while you are working in policy arena or while you are working in corporate arena?
So I would say not many, but almost all of my friends are in corporates, are in kind of various corporations, and there's nothing right or wrong in that again, because one, as I said, one should always do what he or she aspires to. In fact, a strange and a very nice anecdote, I would say, that when I joined this, when I was trying to kind of joining this area, and all of my friends were in kind of joined their campus offers and getting their salaries. So for a brief period of time, I stopped to my friends. Everyone was like, when I was working here kind of pro bono for some time in Delhi, so with Railway Ministry, so everyone was like, and I had also left my campus job. I mean the campus offer which I did not join, and I was working pro bono in the policy communication area, and I did not know what was going to happen. So for a brief period of time, I stopped talking to my friends because everyone was like, what is the kind of CTC you are getting? So I said, CTC, right now I'm spending from my own pocket to work. So, so for a brief period, I just kind of cut off myself from my friends. Obviously, they were well-meaning. They did not have anything wrong to do or say, but so I was not getting a CTC. I was working pro bono. In fact, I was spending from my own pockets. I was staying in Delhi and working. So, and that was all because I wanted to be in this field. So that was more of passion. So everyone was like, "Why are you doing this if you are not getting a salary, or if you are not getting kind of the jump, so-called jump you want?" But in my mind, I was getting the jump. So jump is not always financial. Jump is also jumping from one sector to another where you want to be, which maybe otherwise you would not have been able to without your education, or without your changing your education or adding your education degrees. So that has been kind of me. And if you compare working in a corporation and in a government, there's a difference in basic philosophy. I mean, and to me, the philosophy of work is very important. And I strongly feel, and I strongly recommend everyone that one should not work very mechanically in terms of wherever one is working. I say, even if you give me, I mean, whole lot of financial jump and all, I would not be able to work in an area or with an organization or with an individual I do not align with philosophically. So that's my take on how I view work as. So there's a fundamental difference between working in a government and in a corporation. A corporation is always, it has to be profit oriented. There's nothing wrong in it. And it has social value in it also in terms of wealth creation. A government has to be by philosophy working towards public good. I'm not saying a corporation does not work towards public good, and a government also kind of should not work towards augmenting its income. But the core philosophy is different. The core philosophy is profit earning in private organizations, in corporations, and the core philosophy in government is public good. So I kind of identified more with this philosophy in terms of I'm more philosophy working in than with profit orientation. Again, I respect people who work with profit orientation, and there's nothing wrong in it. They are the people who are creating wealth for our society. The second thing is that one needs to understand that working in government is a very, very large setup. Even if you compare it with the largest of corporations, government also is a very large setup. Maybe few corporations can match the scale of a government. So when scale is there, cannot have absolute efficiency in terms of it's always a trade-off. So it's not, I'm saying government is not efficient or corporates are more efficient, nothing like it. But the difference is in scale. So the scale is huge, and the scale offers you in opportunities to create large-scale impact. So that is something kind of I think is much more pronounced in government than in private sector, because every small decision you take or every small communication you do reaches to a lot more people and affects a lot more people than, say, in any other organization for that matter. So that also kind of gives you a kind of satisfaction kick, whatever you name it. But the scale of impact is huge. The third thing is, which is very important working in government, is the kind of exposure you get, because you have a top-down view of things. You have access to a lot of information and knowledge, which adds value to you as a person, as a professional. Then you get to meet a lot of different people. I mean, it's also there in private sector, but you get to meet different people from different backgrounds, and many people from at leadership levels from whom you learn a lot on how things work and how things should work. And so in terms of exposure, working in the government provides unparalleled exposure. So that is one thing one always needs to do. So even if you're working, say people who are public policy professionals who are not there in the government for their whole life or their whole career span, and they are working in the government for a few years and then looking to shift towards maybe entrepreneurship or maybe towards private sector. So a short stint in government is something which will definitely add value in terms of getting exposure, in terms of learning new things, in terms of getting knowledge and access. So I think that's one of the way, and the kind of network you build in terms of like-minded people and professionals and people who are at leadership levels. So all these things definitely add to you professionally. Policy area. There are so many opportunities in public policy, even in private sector, because now most of the companies have a dedicated public policy team. So I would strongly recommend a short stint in the government if someone is getting, because it might not pay you financially as well as in private sector, but it will definitely equip you for greater things in future, because it will definitely give you unparalleled exposure, access to information, people. It will build your network, all those things which matter in career growth. So I would strongly recommend anyone who wants to get into government, one should try it out.
Thank you, sir. I think there are a lot of intangibles other than money which we actually get to learn from a policy professional like you. So moving on, sir, I was curious that with about your general field, like policy communication. So for policy communication, we are seeing that, especially since the pandemic, that many of the governments are keen on communicating their policies to the citizens and their importance, and the citizen and are urging the citizens themselves to take initiative. So how do you see the growth in your area in the coming years, and how it has been in the past and how it's going to be?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, the pandemic has put it in more focus, but I think public policy communication is a continuous effort, because whether it is pandemic or not, it is a continuous effort. Governments and political parties and people in policy need to take and are taking, definitely, because it's also is becoming more and more important part of job for people in public policy. And at the same time, it's also shaping up more professionally, because whether it is government or political parties, public policy communication is also coming up as a kind of niche area where there are more professionals joining in, and technology and other changes happening in society, it is definitely are concerned, whether it is due to pandemic or not, definitely we have seen that the role of public policy communication, the role of policy communication has been more pronounced during a crisis situation, because the crisis communication is an integral part of any communication strategy, because that's when the best of your communication strategies are put to test. And we see how the role of political leadership in taking policy communication and communication to the people. Even things like when people were requested to say clap for caregivers, so those things are also kind of play a role in terms of effective building a line of communication between the political leadership and the government and the people. And it kind of definitely has led to more awareness and spread of more awareness around the pandemic. And across the world, governments are using communication extensively, whether it is, say, in Canada, if you see, or UK or New Zealand, everywhere, right? Public policy communication has become one of the major tools to fight this pandemic. And this is so much more important during times of crisis. But what we also must realize, that public policy communication is a continuous activity. Be it a pandemic, or be it an election, or be it even seeking feedback from public for taking any decision, or kind of monitoring and evaluating a particular policy decision. So public policy communication is a continuous activity, and these crises should definitely be used to strengthen the policy communication framework between governments and citizens. And how I see is that more and more professional, it is becoming more and more professional, number one. Number two, it is also becoming more and more personal, because now what we learn in MBA, the STP of marketing, the segmentation, targeting, and the STP of marketing is also coming in focus in policy communication as well as political communication. So one needs to identify their segment, define their segment very finely and very and one needs to kind of tailor their message, whether it is government or political parties. One needs to tailor their message according to the target segment, and according to their positioning in terms of how a government wants to position itself. So policy, definitely it is becoming much more personal. There are people, I mean, you might be interested in, say, animal welfare. I might be interested in entrepreneurship. So I would like, what would I do by knowing what government is doing for animal welfare? I might not be interested in that area. In fact, the whole Cambridge Analytica controversy also came from this segmentation and targeting people in terms of analyzing their psychological behavioral patterns and sending them the right messages which kind of aligns with their mindset. So, and the third thing is that role of technology is becoming more and more pronounced. And so how you are, say, defining your STP, your segmentation, targeting, and positioning, and also depends on how you are leveraging technology to reach out to people. I mean, today it is social media. During the lockdown now, so apart from social media, video conferences has also become, I mean, tools like Zoom, Cisco WebEx, and all these two tools have also come to fore, and they have become important tools for policy communication. So the tools will change, technology will change, but the role of technology in policy communication will continue to play a very, very important role. And the third thing I would like to highlight is the role of collaboration in terms of policy communication. So policy communication is not a one-way street. Government also needs to listen from the people, listen from the citizens on what they think, on what the policy decisions which have been taken, what are their feedback, and what are their views and opinions which needs to be factored in to take a decision. And also, I mean, both for taking a decision as well as to kind of monitor and evaluate a decision which has been taken. It's important. And you see how public engagement platforms like MyGov is shaping up and kind of becoming, has already become big, and how it is seeking feedback from people. And so, as I said, public policy communication is more and more going to be a two-way street than a one-way street, and that is how I see it. And another thing which is very important is how communication can create impact in terms of it. So many a times people view communication with propaganda. It is not. It is communication and propaganda are two different things. I mean, there can be some overlap also, but these are two different things, and communication plays an important role. It's not only for say advertising or marketing a particular political party or a government or anything, but communication plays an important role in terms of creating impact, whether it is making people aware about the COVID-19 pandemic, or whether it is kind of bringing in behavioral change in the society. Even if you read nudge theory, or if you read so communication, say if you read the thoughts of say Abhijit Banerjee, who also talks about the role of gossip in terms of in creating in having social impact. So communication plays a very important role in creating social impact and creating social change, not only impact, but also creating social change in terms of behavioral change. For example, I would say, so now government is also focusing a lot on removing, kind of using communication to make society respect wealth creation. Somehow in our society, wealth creation is viewed to some extent negatively by a large section of people, but it is not. The wealth has to be created in the society, and wealth needs to be created in the society. And wealth creation is not a negative activity. So it's very important to have a positive perception towards wealth creation, and so that more and more entrepreneurs also come forward and create wealth for the society. So the role of policymakers come in to kind of drive this communication to affect this social change, this change in mindset. Say, for example, if you talk about open defecation free India, I mean, communication has played an important role in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, or for that matter, because Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was also not only about building toilets, but it was also about bringing in a behavioral change in the public at large. So communication plays a very important role in terms of creating large-scale impact.
So it's really wonderful that you mentioned a lot of intersections in areas of technology, psychology, and politics. But it is frequently seen that many of the liberal arts students like myself, or arts or humanities and social science students, are viewed with a frequent rhetoric that it is only the hard skills that matter, like quantitative skills or like programming skills, but within the employability spectrum. So how do you think that like liberal arts students or arts or humanities students can position themselves within the spectrum to enter into this arena of public policy and communication?
So I would say, in fact, yesterday only I was talking to students from TIS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Hyderabad, and I was talking about the same issue on why there is a kind of, I would say, bias, or why is there a myth that social science students' hard skills, so-called skills, are required more in the society and economy, which is not true. I think with even technology reshaping the world, more and more jobs which involve hard skills will be replaced, and skills or which are completely human, which kind of is taught more in humanities and liberal arts subjects, will assume even more importance. If you see so many tech entrepreneurs across the world, they are from humanities and liberal arts background. The YouTube founder, or Slack founder, or there are so many other companies also which are founded by which are tech companies, but which are founded by people who have been students of liberal arts area or humanities. So this is a complete myth. There are, I would say, so-called soft skills and hard skills, I do not believe in that distinction, because I think there is a greater need of synergy between technology, management, and humanities areas to achieve to create more impact and to achieve greater good. Because I think we need to come out of this mindset of competition between in engineering and humanities and management background, because all three are needed in every organization. Even in business, I would say, even in businesses, say Facebook, Twitter, all these companies are facing issues related to privacy, related to ethics. And these are issues which are not completely technical in nature. They require a much more nuanced understanding of the philosophy behind the business. They require much more understanding of the communities around us. They require much more understanding of human mind, human psychology. And all these things, I would say, are more in a liberal arts student than in technology or a management graduate. I'm not saying, again, technology and management graduates do not have these skills, but I would say that liberal arts student should be definitely scoring high on these parameters, on understanding of society and human mind and emotional intelligence and all these issues, ethical dimensions which are coming to fore. And even if you are building a great product, how can you build a great product if you don't understand the human mind? What does it need? How can you build a great product if you don't understand the society? Because finally, businesses also operate in societies. Businesses do not operate in markets. So in an MBA talks about markets, and human arts, I'm kind of liberal arts student talks about society. So I think there is a greater need for these two people to come together and sit on the same table to have a stronger understanding and to create synergy on how to create value for society. Because there's always that sense of value and purpose which is taught to liberal arts students. I'm not saying it is not taught to management students or technology students, but which needs to be kind of interwoven with technology and management to have a more holistic view of any problem or any issue, and to create a solution which is not only mechanical in nature, but which also appeals to the human mind, and which also creates larger public good. So, and I always say that if technology is the arm and management is the mind, humanities are the soul of any society. And unless all three streams and even other streams work in tandem, larger public good cannot be created. So humanities students need to come out of this mindset that they stand at any kind of disadvantage in the job market. If there is any disadvantage, it kind of needs to be challenged, because and must define their value in areas like business ethics, in public policy, in areas like even in improved customer experience for any product. So humanities students can play a very, very important role. They also have, in humanities, you are also taught the importance of fieldwork, which is so much more important in, I mean, you cannot launch a new product or a new offering without understanding consumer needs, without assessing, without carrying out a survey, for example. And that is something liberal arts students are taught very well. So I don't see any competition. I can only see synergy, but definitely the job market also needs to understand it even more. And I would say the job market needs to be more progressive in terms of hiring liberal arts students. Because if you ask me if I am setting up a team, I would definitely like people. I will hire 3 people: one from technology, one from management, and one from liberal arts. Only then I believe I'll be able to achieve.
Sir, I cannot agree more with you that there has to be a synergy, and there has to be an understanding in the job market. So in the meanwhile, do you think that liberal arts students how can there be a synergy within this education system? Like, how can the training be so how can the training in the Indian education system can more channelize towards understanding the problems and and promoting a collaboration in all these fields.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think there is a need. There, I would say there is a need for liberal arts for management students to study liberal arts subject, because if you ask me, in my MBA course, I remember a bit of statistics. I don't remember a bit of mathematics or other, even to some extent finance. I mean, I hope my statistics and finance professors are not listening, but because they were great people who put in great efforts to teach those subjects. But what I do remember and what I believe I learned most from are subjects like organizational behavior. Selling, but brand is also about understanding the psychology of people. Even marketing is also about understanding people. It's not about only selling stuff. So number one, I would say what is needed is to break. There are so many myths which have been kind of creeped in our education system, and say for example, management schools these student as too theoretical, or humanities students can view a B school graduate as say for example too much profit oriented and too much into selling stuff. But so that's where the importance of synergy comes in, because there needs to be greater institute to institute collaboration, and it should not be like management collaborating with management science instead of versa. And I think there is a need for more kind of till changing our curriculum to make it more interdisciplinary in nature. Even some part of technology should be learned by humanity students, and some part of humanity subjects should be learned by engineering graduates, which is so kind of minuscule right now. So one or greater synergy, greater interaction between people of all these three streams, both humanities, management, and technology. Number two, the job market also needs to appreciate the importance of greater synergy, and they should not place the humanities students, humanities candidates at a disadvantage in terms of remuneration, or in terms of roles, in terms of leadership opportunities, because I see a liberal arts students can be as good a leader as a technology student, and a technology student can be as good as a leader as a management graduate, because and so this straight jacketing of candidates also needs to be stopped from the job market also, that look, this is my role and I strictly need people of this many years of experience with this kind of education. So that kind of straight jacketing has happened for long, and it does not help anyone, I would say. And the third thing I would also need to say, that even the liberal arts institutes also and faculties also need to be more pragmatic in terms of one teaching the philosophy of, or teaching one particular narrative or the other particular narrative. And a liberal arts student, or any student, I would say, should be open to and should be left exposed to all kinds of opinions, all streams of thoughts, and all lines of thought, so that he or she can build, shape, and form his or her own opinion, his or her own worldview, own perspectives. And that is perhaps the most important thing and any education offers, which is which is equipping you to build your own perspective, to create your own reality, and also to basically kind of know yourself, and kind of break many assumptions and break many myths which one takes. So all those kinds of myths and assumptions need to be broken in all streams, and people need to come together. Say, for example, in many I have come across many liberal arts students who think that for example, every corporation is into profiteering, and obviously they are for profits, and profit is a dirty word. So I think profit also needs, the liberal arts students also need to appreciate profit more, and the MBA students and the MBA faculties also. I think there is also a need. I'm not kind of, I would say, completely equipped to comment on faculties, but I have an opinion also, so I would like to share it, that the faculty, there should be a change in the mindset of faculties in terms of creating synergy between each other field, and not kind of putting students into one line of thought. Exposing them to all kinds of thought is important. And so, for example, liberal arts students need to understand that profit is also good for society. And even management MBA students need to understand that profit is also not the sole purpose of, it should not be the sole purpose of a business. It is, a business is about much more than profits. So, and I think there is a gap there which no one is trying to bridge, and someone needs to build that bridge sooner than later, and kind of need to appreciate both views and create synergy between both views, because it cannot work in isolation. And I think so many things are working in isolation right now. People are in their own straight-jacketed world, in their own kind of self-imposed boxes. We need to come out of our boxes and interact more with people from other domains, and work more with people from other domains, and appreciate their point of view, because unless all points of view get amalgamated together, only then we can create value for the society. And I think that's the whole purpose of our existence, of anyone's existence, whether it is an individual or an organization.
Thanks a lot, sir. I think you are a wonderful example of that synergy itself, and it was a real pleasure to have you today with me. And I think everyone who will be hearing you will say the same about you. I think you have been a very brilliant interviewee, and I cannot express my gratitude more.
Thank you so much, Samarth. You have been also awesome, and I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks a lot, sir. Wishing you a great night.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, sir.